Sizawukwamkela wonke umuntu lapha izipika zethu zanamhlanje ndiyazamkela apha zizawukwaziswa ke into zozazisa ndamkele namanye ama-Afrika asuka kwezinye ibranch ndithi mawahlale apha azive esekhayeni siyawamkela ngomoya kaSobukwe izwe lethu.
Ayenzi into sidibani sithetheni ngomAfrika Sobukwe ukuba yonke into ayenzile ke siyakha ndifuna ukuthetha into ezininzi khona izipeakers zethu ezawuthetha zosuku namhlanje. So that is the purpose of the day. And xa futhi uzohamba uyojonga kwi-constitution ye-student movement iyasi-instruct into yobana sizenze into ezilolu hlobo uba sikwazi uba the acquisition of knowledge sizenze into ezilolu hlobo zi-lecturers sibe nazo zi-seminars zibe khona ne-political class ne-political education zibe khona. So bonke esikwenzayo today it's in line with the constitution of the student movement. So ndingaphulisanga maseko ma-Afrika ndizawucela ke ngoku kubhalwe i-performance apha kuthiwa izokwenziwa zidaughters forum. So ndizawugqithisela kuyo xa zingekho ready zi-daughters forum sons forum i-ready nayo kubhalwe sons forum i-ready nayo daughters forum i-ready izoletho i-African convince so daughters izali
massacre. June 16. Sobukwe Day. The Marikana massacre. We lay dormant. We wake just to remember history. But then again, we go back to sleep. Never have we been orchestrators of history, orchestrators of change. I am growing impatient. Since 2016, yes, since 2016, I have been in my battle gear. But some of them, long have they been ready for battle, long before 2016. So every year, the machine goes. Beep. 28th of February. Dit. 21st of March. Dit. 16th of June. Dit. 12th of August. Long have we been mobilizing. Long have we been educating. When, my Africa? When do we strive? I wish I can stand on top of a hill and shout, Yisweletu! And let the soul be drenched in our blood and our enemy's blood. For that, only that will give us our liberation. Let us not just remember history, my Africa. Let us rather create history. I know we are all afraid of death, but death will come. It will come for all of us. But I'd rather death comes in our own conditions. I'd rather we not fear death. But then again, the machine goes.
Thank you, sons and daughters of Azania. Task is very simple, just to introduce the speakers. On this side, we have Africa, Raymond, Kgagudi, Kroma. He's to be the president of PASMA. He's a former president of PASMA. He has served twice in the NEC. Before he actually became the president, he was also the deputy secretary at some point. That was in the around early 2000s when he was the president of PASMA. The current constitution used in PASMA was adopted under his leadership when he was president of PASMA. And then later on, he was part of NEC in PAC. Now currently he's the secretary of PAC Gauteng. They were elected last year. So he's going to be also one of the speakers today. That is Afrika People. Then on this side we have Afrika Thando Sipuye. It's a comrade who has been in the student movement also. At some point he was a student at UWC. Then he went to Fort Hayes, London. He was always been active. Then when he went to Joburg, when he was in Joburg also, he was working closely in the UG in the vets PASMA. Currently is part of the PAC Capitalism branch in Soweto. He's a member of PAC and also is working closely in the Sobukwe Trust. That task is just to make sure that the legacy of Sobukwe is still alive, trying to make sure that the memory of Sobukwe is not lost. So he's working closely with those Sobukwe family and the Sobukwe Trust. He's an African-centered writer also. He does take time to write a lot of things. So we welcome Africa. Is related to? Yeah, Africa? Both of the speakers have to answer a fundamental question. The topic for today was the Sobukwe and the implications of the fourth industrial revolution to students and workers. So they have made their presentation. They will try to locate Sobukwe to the current epoch of today, what is currently happening in society today in terms of those affecting students and workers. And all those things. I don't want to go much into because they will do the presentation. So it will start with African People, then go to Thando. It's still a revolutionary song, Africa, Magasogum Africa.
No! for the time and the opportunity. Coming here has been a long journey, a long journey because of it was the past 5 days were daunting and demanding. There's party work, there is work. There are also demands of PASMA comrades. And yesterday when I went to secure, the first thing is to use technology, right, to secure a ticket. So you sit on your computer, you try to book a ticket. Then the computer or the system disappoints you. Then we run around to get a ticket, but finally we are here. Now, the question or the theme or the title for the day is Sobukwe and the fourth industrial revolution implications to the African people. I hope I will address the question, but I'm not alone. Also, South Africa Mosiah is here. But answering the question, I'll primarily use the PhD documents to answer the question. And to expose how PAC, in terms of its basic documents, has conceptualized and contextualized the issue of the evolution and development of capitalism, and what does it mean for us. Now, you'll pick up that I'm saying that instead of saying conceptualization of the first industrial revolution, I deliberately said how to conceptualize and contextualize the evolution of capitalism. Because of what must be understood, John, is that what is referred as fourth industrial revolution is nothing new but capitalism entering another stage or another phase and adapting itself. So that becomes critical to understand. Now, there's a scholar, it's called Schumpeter. Schumpeter uses a Marxist method of analysis in looking at the evolution of capitalism and to explain capitalism. He does that without using classic Marxist analysis in terms of class conflict and class contradiction. But he's looking at capitalism as what it has been doing over the number of years. Now, Schumpeter says, he says that capitalism is a system that in its evolution as in its changes, development, right, from one stage to another, it renders the past method of production, of manufacturing, obsolete and irrelevant. It then generates new methods of production, knowledge-based skills, thus technology. That's basically what he says. So he sums it very nicely that capitalism, it will start from one stage, it will continue and complete its cycle. When it has completed its cycle, you find that it can no longer produce more wealth, more profit, and so forth. There's a crisis. When there's a crisis, what it then does, it then regenerates itself again. How many of us have studied biology? There's an animal called amoeba.
Science.
Right? We know the animal called amoeba, right? Now, capitalism is like an amoeba. What's an amoeba? Amoeba is a living organism. But you cannot describe in definite terms its shape. It exists, but you cannot say exactly this is the shape of it. Amoeba. So capitalism also has got that particular tendency. So it tends to assume different faces and forms relative to time. So what we call fourth industrial revolution, it's nothing else but another phase and form of capitalism. Now, why do I deliberately pick up an amoeba? For us as activists, it's important. Why? Because of the word fourth industrial revolution sounds exciting and progressive, right? And if you can resist and challenge it, it's like you are anti-progress. So we are not being told that this is another phase of capitalism. You see? So it then becomes important for us to know, using an analogy of an amoeba, because of if some minutes back we saw an amoeba, it was round like the shape. After 2 hours time, it may have a different shape, but it's still the same. Same thing. Is it clear? So, the clarity of thought is important because of when we will be engaging policies, proposals, ideas of the system, it then becomes imperative that we are clear that what I call fourth industrial revolution is nothing else but capitalism having re-engineered itself. And using the analogy again of an amoeba. Now, on the world technological and scientific advancement, in the late 1950s, Sobukwe pointed out, he said, I quote, in the course of the past 2 years or so, we have seen men breaking asunder. With dramatic suddenness, the chains that have bound his mind, solving problems which for ages it has been regarded as a sacrilege, even to attempt to solve. The tremendous epoch-making scientific achievements in the exploration of space, with man-made satellites orbiting the Earth. The new and interesting discoveries in geophysical, the production of rust-resistant strains of wheat in the field of agriculture. The amazing discoveries in the field of medicine, chemistry, and physics. All this mean that man is well on the way to establishing absolute control over the environment. So all these advancements that have been made, Sobukwe says that all these advancements that have been made, it tells us that man is well on the way to establishing absolute control over the environment. Close quote. Now, during the days of PASO and PASMA, we used to say that what education and what socialist education should do and what a socialist system should do, it should enable us to liberate humanity from all forms of oppression. From all forms of oppression. Oppression made by men, oppression made by human beings. And oppression that is natural. So a socialist education should provide us with that level of knowledge, skills, to liberate mankind, to liberate humanity from all forms of oppression, natural forms and man-made forms. Man-made forms of oppression is poverty, oppression, exploitation, harm, disease, and many other things. These are social constructs designed by men that Africans are inferior. These are constructs made by human beings. So our struggle is to construct a new society where people are liberated from these particular forms of oppression, where women are liberated from all these forms of oppression. You know that people will say, no, Mfazi, you don't talk, you don't ever say all these issues, right? It's another form of oppression. These are not natural things. These are things that are designed by human beings to keep other human beings at the bottom. And also there are other forms of oppression that are natural, like drought. If they can be drowned, we know that we're going to have a problem to get access of food, flooding, earthquakes, and many other forms that are natural. But these forms that are natural and are oppressive, they bring pain, they bring suffering to humanity and to men. So a socialist education should help us. So that's what Sobukwe is saying here. That man is well on the way to establish absolute control over the environment. So we begin to master our environment. So technology, innovation should contribute towards achievement of that particular objective. Should free humanity from all forms of oppression. But also it's important that we also know, my friend, that the very same technology, innovation, happen within a particular system that is capitalist. And therefore, it will not serve and advance the interests that are socialist. So then, technology and innovation becomes instruments. We'll come to that point later on. We speak about the fourth industrial revolution. So that is the fourth stage of capitalism. From a steam engine, steam power, industrial revolution, right? It goes on, it reaches a stage where now it can no longer yield profits, yield the interest of those who own the means of production. The second industrial revolution, then we speak about electricity. Mass production. Mass production, that's when now people will put in roads. We speak about the transmission belt, and within a short period of time, products massively can be produced. And therefore, those who own the means of production were able to make millions and millions and millions of money, right? Simply because of what the second industrial revolution has brought to them, right? Ford is one example of the second industrial revolution benefiting America. Because of the car, Ford, right? Ford designed a system where he can massively produce this car within a short period of time. Right? But what did that mean for workers? Workers, their rights were reduced, they were exploited, their salaries are reduced, and they then become disempowered in terms of them mastering the entire production process. Don't forget that when trade unions emerged, trade unions, when they emerge and come into being, they come from crafts. Crafts were people who were able to design a shoe if you wanted a shoe. You go to a shoemaker. Then he draws a shoe for you. If you like it, then you say, okay, I like it, but with the color purple or red and so forth. Then the shoemaker will then go out and select a leather that you preferred. We'll cut the leather, and shape the shoe. We'll do the sole. We'll do everything, and it becomes a complete shoe. Then you pay one person. So, what happened with from first and second industrial revolution? Now a shoemaker can no longer make a shoe from the finish until the end. Now there's someone who's a shoe designer. Now I can no longer design a shoe. Now instead of having the knowledge and the skill to pick up the best leather, the shoemaker is no longer involved. There's a person now who comes in who specializes with leather. Then there's a part of cutting the shoe. You see what then happens? Work that was done by one person is then distributed to pieces and it's done by several people. Does it make sense? Right? Now that's where trade unions come from crafts. There's some people who had crafts, they realize that no, we are beginning to lose our area of specialization, which was our own source of income and living. Then they organized themselves to find those who made factories. So that's where trade unions come from. As formations that were protecting those who had crafts, who had trades, and they had to bargain with the firm owners, those who had capital, made firms, and employed people. So they had to bargain. And that's the origin of trade unionism, where it comes from. Now, then there was a third industrial revolution. Third industrial revolution comes in your late 70s. Computing, application of electronics, and the late 90s to speak about IT, information technology. The third industrial revolution did not last long as compared to the first and the second industrial revolution. Right? Within a short space of time, then we speak about the fourth industrial revolution, which is nothing else but introduction of a pervasive use of digital technology to manage, track, and monitor processes and activities. So those are your four key nodes. As I said earlier on, according to them, okay? Why we say according to them is because we know that in 1652, when Jan van Riebeeck were pushed out from Holland, right? They were seeking for markets and labor and new products. That's when capitalism now, because of capitalism in Europe could not hold, it was in a crisis. Most of the people were unemployed. The East Indian Company now funds people like Jan van Riebeeck that go out and look for markets, places where we can find products, we can find labor, cheap labor we can exploit. Then Jan van Riebeeck in 1652, he lands. The settlers had to drive their program of land dispossession because of land is the primary natural source of life. This is what Africans will do. They'll go because of they want cows. Yeah? They'll go and work, get whatever money, buy cows. They don't go back to work for it. White person because he's got his cattle, right? And they continue their life, right? They go plowing, they continue their stock cattle and other forms of living and so forth. So this just says, for as long as these guys have got control over the land, the natural source of living, of life, right? They will never become laborers. So it's from that particular point, that's why you see now the viciousness of settlers in terms of land dispossession. And when land is taken forcefully from the African people, then they no longer have, then tax also is imposed on the African people. And then when you are forced to pay tax, it also means that you must go and get a source of income to pay the tax. So they impose a system on the African people. And out of that particular social engineering, land is taken as a natural source of life. They force you to become laborers. That's how they start exploitation of the African people. So I'm deliberately speaking about this particular two periods of slavery and the period of colonialism and settler colonialism, right? As part and integral component of the expansion and evolution of capitalism, which according to their scholars, they don't include as part of industrial revolution. Because of, if it's not, then what it is, because of Africans were used to develop what is America today, to develop what is Europe today. Karl Marx says that them continuing to hunt for black skins will lead to nothing else but in future there will be an emergence of a revolt. Because of this, that system in itself is not sustainable. And that's what we are observing today. So, in spite of all these rapid advances in Africa, in the material and the physical world, man appears to be either unwilling or unable to solve the problem of social relations between men and men. Scientific and technological advances can be of benefit to the people, but the question is, under which specific system? I'm going to give you figures, and I'm going to request you to memorize these particular figures, because there will be a source of reference later on. In this country, we've got an estimated population of 58 million people. In the 58 million people, close to 33 million people is what is classified as a labor force. So this is anyone who's above 18 years and can work, right? But from the 3 million people, 11 million people are employed. So 11 million divided by 33, it gives how much percent? Times 100. 33%. Right? Am I correct? So it is 33%. It's 33% that is employed. Now from 11 million, 4.7 million people pay taxes. And what does it mean? When you say 4.7 million people pay taxes, it means that this particular person earns above 79,000. Right? And from that 4.7 million, right, 1.9 million pay 80% of income tax. So 1.9 million in this country, they earn above 350,000. From the population of how many? 58 million. Now, for everybody to have access of internet, it means that you must be able to have access of connection. Am I correct? For you to have access of connection, it means that you must be able to pay monthly installment. The cheapest that I've seen is 399. Is there another cheapest one? Now, you've got 1.9 million people who earn above 350. So effectively, you've got close to 22 million plus people who earn less than 3,500, and some of them they don't earn any living. Will they have access to internet? Firstly, we know that people who earn grants, there are 15 million. People Bowen said they are going to be close to 18 million this year, am I correct? 18 million people are dependent on grants. So basically, we are saying that on the basis of access to income, more than 20 million, more than 40 million people in the country, right? Because of they don't have a source of income, they won't have access to connectivity, they won't have access to internet. Now, again, what then emerges is another form of exclusion of the vast majority of the people. In schools, kids are expected to do projects at school, am I correct? To do that project, then they are expected to get connection to the internet. Because it is through the internet that they can get ideas, information. And then these kids, they will then know that, okay, this is how I can do my school project. Now, this child stays in a family where now combined source of income is below 8,000, or there's no source of income at all. Will this particular child have access to internet and do the school project? Now, did this particular child choose to be in that social condition? So the system, by design, has excluded many young kids to have access to information. So that is one aspect of how what is called digital divide in a capitalist system has the consequences too. Right? Well, children whose parents they get more than 350,000, that is annual salary, right? Probably they can afford 399 per month, right? Probably then they can have access to internet. But we know that those are people who are not residing. Is it Kamaku? Kamaku, right? Kamaku. Right? These are people who are not staying at the Som. Right? These are not people who are staying at Ibik. So the vast majority of our people are excluded to gain access to information, right? Because of the system by its own design. Just on the basis of access to income, right? The implication and the consequence, right, is that the vast majority of our people are excluded access to information. But it's not only access to information. Let's come to another point, right? In terms of what is referred as fourth industrial revolution. We all know that the world driven by technology, what is important is what is called patents. This no one here can go out and manufacture a camera like this one simply because of Canon can sue you that you have designed a camera which looks like their camera. Why? Because of Canon has control of what is called patent rights. Does it make sense? Right? Can I shock you? Can I shock you? How many of you can drive a bicycle? Maybe all of you, right? But do you know that South Africa, we don't manufacture a bicycle? All bicycles, intellectual property, ownership, specification are controlled by either in China and America or Europe. You know bicycle, BMX, race, yes. And what it also means is that if you can sit down and design something that looks like that bicycle, you can be sued. Why? Because of somebody has got the intellectual property that says that anything that looks like this, it's mine. It doesn't matter you make it red or yellow, but anything that looks like that thing called bicycle, it is his. So South Africa does not manufacture a bicycle. So what does it mean? It means as a country, we are being arrested in terms of development. I just give an example about a bicycle, right? Tires, you know, car tires. There are 7 companies in this country that manufacture tires. And all 7 companies are foreign companies. They've got what we call patent rights. So if anybody wants to manufacture tires, you either have to speak to them, they will then agree on top of the money that you make, you must take a portion of the money that you make and pay them. It's what we call patent rights. So, economic growth, Ramaphosa, that's what he says, trade employment, they cannot happen because of what fourth industrial revolution has done in terms of ownership of information and knowledge. It has made the very same countries that has colonized us to have control over the formula that you require to be able to create companies, to create employment, grow the economy, and create economic development. A child from the white family who have gone to a technical college, has done mechanical engineering, he can compete M1, N2, N3, and 5. When he's finished, he can open up his own company. Why? Because of the system is designed in such a manner that it continues to serve the interest of the settler minority population. So what fourth industrial revolution does, it comes in not to liberate the African people. It comes in as an integral part of capitalism. And it then does what? It perpetuates, right, the state of servitude of the African people. Lastly, you can Google this on your own. There's a country called Estonia. Estonia, what they've done, they've connected each and every household to the internet. So each and every household, they've got access to the internet. It therefore means that each person, each child in Estonia, they've got access to information, they've got access to knowledge. Right? Those who are struggling with maths, you can go online and get help and get many videos in terms of how to solve math problems and so forth. So Estonia is regarded as one of the countries in the world, right, having given people access to connectivity. It's fastly growing and is able to experience some form of innovation. But in Africa, and Azania in particular, because of what we call digital divide comes as a result of stratification within the society. There are haves, there are have-nots. They have not, they don't have the means to gain access. They are therefore excluded from the system. But the haves, because of they have money, they've got the resources, they can gain access to the system. Right? So that becomes the implication, in my own interpretation of what fourth industrial revolution does. It's a continuation of social degradation of the African people. It's a continuation in contemporary times of the African people being in a state of servitude. We are servants who speak English better. We are servants with education, qualifications. We are servants who don't serve ourselves, but we are servants who continue to create wealth for capitalism and imperialist countries. Right? It therefore means that if the system is still continue, if capitalism is still continue with various stages, first industrial revolution and so forth, you don't radically bring an end of capitalism and white supremacy. Right? Generations to come will continue with being the state of servitude. They will continue being second citizens in their own land of birth. So for as long as first industrial revolution is within the context of capitalism, its implication is perpetuation of servitude, is perpetuation of degradation of the African people. Israel too? Yeah. The Africa? Yes. Thanks, my friend.
Okokuqala ke ma-Afrika sithetha ngale term fourth industrial revolution. Lisuka phi igama? Every word or terminologies esizisebenzisayo, they have an origin. And i-white supremacy, amabhulu, one of izinto abasibethe kuzo yilaa nto kuthiwa yi-power to define i-reality. So they give us terms, basinika amagama esivele thina siwathathe sibaleke nawo singawazi noba asuka phi. So kubalulekile into yokubana siqale ngoba yintoni isuka phi le fourth industrial revolution. So the term fourth industrial revolution is a political and an economic term. It was coined by a white man known as Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab, he is also the founder and the chairman of the World Economic Forum. Now, the World Economic Forum, the NGO, it's a non-profit organization when they define it. It was found in 1971. It is based at Geneva, Switzerland, Africa. Its mission is cited as committed to improving the state of the world. Committed to improving the state of the world by engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society in order to do what? To shape global, regional, and industry agendas. So, the World Economic Forum, it was founded so that these group of white people, Europeans, they can do what? They can influence globally all the political leaders, all the business leaders, and all the people who run and control industries globally. This is the reason why the World Economic Forum exists. Sometimes we think about even our own presidents, black presidents from throughout the continent participate with forum. They are part of these economic forums. Progress, not development. Yet, the World Economic Forum, they are also linked to other institutions, the International Monetary Funds, IMF. It's also linked to other institutions, the World Banks. These are the people who create and craft the economic policies that are then used by the countries, the nations, our presidents. So I think the fourth industrial revolution, according to economists, two other economists, Eric Branshoff
and Andrew McAfee, they say that the fourth industrial revolution, and Makota, they say it could yield greater inequality, particularly in its potential to disrupt labor markets. I think labor markets. As automation substitutes for labor across the entire economy, the net displacement of workers by machines might exacerbate the gap between returns to capital and returns to labor. On the other hand, it is also possible that the displacement of workers by technology will result in a net increase in safe and rewarding jobs. You see? So, one of the most important things they say is that the fourth industrial revolution, what it will do is that it will increase the inequality. You see? So, Sobukwe, as a legal professional, as a linguist, and as a philosopher, he was very conversant with issues that involve scientific advancement. Africa wamquota exactly what Sobukwe said about the advancement in science and technology during the time of the Pilanga. But however, we should Sobukwe would not be happy with the inequality that the so-called fourth industrial revolution promises to create, and the accompanying job losses that since machines are going to replace the workers. So, what I'm saying there is that Thando Sobukwe will not be happy with this state, but those safe and rewarding jobs that they are referring to here, who would they be for? Who are the people who are going to be the primary beneficiaries of these safe and rewarding jobs? These safe and rewarding jobs are those jobs that involve high technology, high technological advancement. Most of us sifunda is social sciences. They even say it's social sciences because we are dealing with society. But how many of us are doing studies in mathematics? How many of us are doing studies with chemistry? How many of us are doing studies of how to manufacture? We actually have no schools, no university in this country teaches us to manufacture or to produce anything. Which means in Africa, there is never any time, no matter and wish, there's no time to own industries. Never at any time. In terms of Kubenega, Sizobazindoni, the workers. Nango siyafunda, sifundela ndoni? Namlandfunda, sifundela ndoba sithini, siqeshwe, siyofumana ingqesho. So what they do with the education system, they've designed the education system to produce qualified slaves. Amakoboka qualified. You must be able to perfect umsebenzi wabo, what they want you to do, and end isala, which is the peanuts when you really look into the greater scheme of Israel. Ubringe ngaba abantu mafike bethetha ngabo bahumba igolide, idiamond, iuranium, iplatinum. Bapha abantwana babo, some of them can't even enter apha kweziwusi nezifort esifunda kuzo. Abantwana babo have no access at all because of what they earn. Now about Cyril Ramaphosa, niyabazi how they were implicated in killing abantu eMarikana. Ziphi families zaba abantu babulawa eMarikana. Abantwana babo baphi today. You see? So this is what a fourth industrial revolution poses. No good restaurants, for example. You can see that the machines have already been put there. McDonald's, instead of going to the till, when's order, you make it on the machine. I mean, even into the banking and all of those things. Now you can do e-banking right on your cell phone. You don't need to go into the bank. You don't need to speak to no consultant or anything. This is what the fourth industrial revolution is designed to do. So, I think what I want to emphasize is that Tina, we are not prepared educationally. We do not have the education system or institutions, so we don't have the tools for us to be even talking about the fourth industrial revolution. Because Tina, Singama Africa, we have not even managed to accomplish our own revolution. Because Nyayas Monk and Shilapa Africa, in 1994, the revolution Yama Africa to advance Ama Africa was aborted in 1994. The revolution for us to be able to be advanced in education, advanced in culture, advanced in spirituality, advanced in labor, law, politics, and all of these spheres, it was aborted in 1994 when those people decided to go and sit in Kodesa and negotiate what they negotiated, which is what we are living under today. So, how many scientists, how many engineering technicians, you see, have we produced Tina since 1994? Every time that's born a graduate with fields, the chemistry, the sciences and everything, it becomes news. Even as because engineer, he biotechnologist, all of these terms. Because Tina, well, during so-called ban to education. It's the same educational design. It was and the education, we level pre-schooling to brainwash you. You cannot achieve anything in the world. You cannot be a pilot, you can never be a scientist and engineer, or you cannot be an inventor. You can't invent anything. You can't even consider these cell phones, but we cannot dissect this thing, or once we crack this thing, or these devices, or once we break her apart. You see, we are my friend, tell my friend Magun said, living when the screen, even the screen exercise, you go tell my friend, can you fix this thing for me? And tell my friend, tell Arabs, the Arabs. Because the Europeans, the Arabs, every dominator will you see? Because Africa, the first people to colonize Africans were the Arabs. That is why we go to Africa, go Tunisia, we go to Egypt, we go up north Algeria, even towards Ethiopia, Sudan, all of these Arabs. Those Arabs, the original people, African. But in ways, they invaded that land. The first people to invade Africa made slaves of and that is why religion, even up north, is the Arab religion. They've adopted the Arab culture because that is what colonialism, the imperialism does. It makes those subjects, those people who are subjected to it, you must adopt its culture. Adopt their language, religion, their worldview. You must think like them, see the world like them. They recreate themselves in us. That's why it's taken neo-colonialism. Because today, I go for vote, parliament, let alone that to declare the call. But the people are actually Mandela, Baby, the people who are there, they look like us. So it becomes confusing for Abandabanintuti, who is, who is the enemy today? It becomes confusing because the lines are blurred today. That is why African Manins, we are confused. You see? we're still tightened up. They collaborate with the settlers. They kill otata bethu, bhuti bethu, sisi bethu. They oppress abantu. They live in luxury and all of that. But we still vote for them. We still march in the streets for them. You see? That is why the Otata Sobukwe emphasize on the liberation of the African mind. No, we must have the consciousness etile. Because today, one of these investments in Africa, we still participate. We politics now, we systems abantu oppressive, so we still hope that whoever was a parliament, who's a legislator, is in the Zokurulating. It will never happen. Sobukwe wa ateka umthetho wabo. The legal system, the legal philosophy, he challenged the law of Sobukwe. He said the main thing he challenged is the philosophy. Yeah. Because everything that they have built, the only thing is built on top of their philosophy, their worldview. So crush that. Better pine trouble. That is what Sobukwe did and said. And that is why he was regarded as the most dangerous person and kept with solitary confinement. So today when we check, we are not at par with any nation in the world, Africa. We are still at the bottom of the ladder. See footstool. Yes, this was all. On top of every one of us. The same Africa. So the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution, it involves things like drones, self-propelled vehicles, like as was born out of films in the early 90s or 2000s, or who's born as motors, these automators, some of them spawn actually. Mercedes-Benz, there's Poyo, BMWs, there's Poyo, all of these cars, luxury cars. The core is you can control it using just, you know, you see, a cell phone, or you know, immobilizer, or you know. So we are living in that time right now. So the Africa, the idea of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, for me, it is rooted in the European philosophical worldview. And when we talk about philosophy, Europeans, it aims to preserve white power in perpetuity. The Fourth Industrial Revolution. It aims to advance the global white supremacy and to export European politics and economics to the rest of the world. So, the fourth, when they speak of the Industrial Revolution, but the advancements of the white race, you see, in some particular industrial area. Industrial revolutions, how they have happened. Bonabati Fourth Industrial Revolution. We are actually revolutions. So we are actually probably in Africa either at the 5th or the 6th Industrial Revolution. And if we locate in modern times, because in Africa was 13 years, the first people to build industries were Africans. The first human beings were Africans. The first civilization the first and the oldest university, universities, Europeans universities. The oldest university in the world, you can do your own research. It's a Mali, it's a Timbuktu. You see? There was a time when Mbeki wayedumile kusithiwa uyi Pan-Africanist because uthetha the African Renaissance wade wayaphi eTimbuktu to preserve those documents zakla institution eSankore. And iSankore has always been under attack from mobani Arabs. Because bafuna ucima imbali yomuntu omnyama. So it's not true lando isolo kithetha ukuthi thina singama Africa sasingabhali izinto zethi you know we are people of oral history. It's false. The oldest mathematical scripts zibhalwe kwi-papyrus zibhalwa ngama Africa apha eAfrica. Xa uthetha about abantu abastudy medicine kwezi universities, you study medicine and then xa ugqibile ukufunda medicine bakuthathisa i-oath ufunge isifungo pha kuthiwa Hippocratic oath. It's named after a white man ekuthiwa Hippocrates. Hippocrates, the hypocrite, he actually studied at Africa. The actual person is the father of medicine. A black man known as Imhotep. He is the actual doctor, he is the god of medicine, Imhotep. However, he comes from that country called Kemet. Kemet, Egypt. The original name of the country is Kemet. And it was abantu base Kemet who gave to the world the sciences of chemistry, the study of carbon, the study of chemicals. Abantu base Kemet who gave us those sciences. The sciences of astrology to study the movement of the stars. You see in my Africa, engineering, high-tech engineering. That is why today actually Kemet, the civilization as Egypt. We must know what Egypt is the last civilization as Africa. It's the youngest civilization. Sikale up, going up throughout the continent, you have traces of civilizations which existed here. So it's not true that in mining with the discovery of diamonds by Ezra Whites Johannesburg. That is false. Johannesburg nase Kimberley. It's false. Because you can go Google now. They were digging and mining Ikolite, diamonds, and all other types of minerals. And Imapungubwe was once a trading center, a center of commerce, where as Arabs, as Europeans, and Asians used to come. You go to Zimbabwe, what called Karanga Empire. That is why today Zimbabwe calling ruins the Great Zimbabwe walls, which are the walls of a civilization here in Konapa. Throughout the continent, Uguya Goma Congo, you have all of these places. Uguya Goma Ghana, the Ashanti empires were there. Uguya Goma Mali, the Songhai empires were there. So going up into Ethiopia, the Kushite empires, Abantu Baba Kush, they built empires there. That is why I don't Itawe is in the Hlabathini. As long as you kill against China, maybe it's China upwards. Put you something, plus that issue. They chiseled in town. Google the Church of Lalibela. Lalibela in Ethiopia. Chiseled with high-tech engineering. Yama Africa. The Church of Lalibela. You see. So, my African, in when we emphasize again, the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution, as called Fourth Industrial Revolution, we are actually at the 5th or perhaps the 6th Industrial Revolution. The first Industrial Revolution, took place during the time of what I call Ma'afa. Ma'afa is a term or Umama, who is an Africanist, to define the transatlantic slave trade. You see, because you cannot call it a slave trade. It was a tragedy. It was greater than even the Holocaust or Jewish Holocaust. It was a greater tragedy than any genocide you can imagine. So he came up with it described a great tragedy. A tragedy you cannot even describe. So that is when the first industrial revolution took place. You see? And the second one took place in between the 18th and 19th centuries, during a period predominantly agrarian, when rural societies in Europe and in America became industrial and urban. It has its roots specifically in England with the mechanization of textile. And then the third industrial revolution, known as the technological revolution, during the times of Ford, when they started, manufacturing, imoto, amatayar, and all of those kind of things. The fourth industrial revolution, as far as I'm concerned, it began in the early 20th century, when desktop computers became linked for the first time to the internet, what they call the World Wide Web. You see, this is the era of the internet and advances in digital technology, which was led by Europeans. You see, we are now at the cusp. We're at the beginning of the ages. There was a time in the early 2000s, people who were into, I guess, religion spaces and microchips. Hey, microchip, yes. People about a microchip. 666, Illuminati, Freemasonry, and all of those things. But what you see today is actually that actually there are many people who live microchips. They are being automated. Today, you have people who are studies, up as universities as well. They're studying as biotechnology, nanotechnology. All of these technologies, biotechnology, what it's actually talking about is that today they want to prolong ubom. And actually, the fourth industrial revolution and all of these technologies, they actually call it with other terms. They call it transhumanism. We're living in the age of transhumanity. The other terms, we politics, but the post-humanism or post-humanist era. Post-modernism. You are living in post-modernity. You see? Obesity post, they mean after humanism. After humanity. You see? You see? So, transhumanism is the era of post-humanism, an era after humanity and humanism. It is a time when the white world is redefining what it means to be a human. What constitutes a human being? You see? Through engineering and robotics. Because do you know that there was a time when they can transplant a liver, which means if I need a liver for some other reason, if we call a relative or someone, within the family, and a liver, they've been doing all of these transplants. Bernard, you've been doing heart transplants and all of that. But now, through biotechnology and this era of transhumanism, they can actually take a little tissue from your own liver they damaged, and then develop a new liver in a laboratory. Which means it's been elaborate. They create it in a laboratory. And German Sichoma Africa, you don't have to believe me. Go and do your own research.
Children of Africa, I speak to you. The white boy is not your friend, never was and never will be. They